What's up, everybody? Let me know if you guys can hear me. Give me a thumbs up if you can. This is a new laptop for a live stream. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. Drinking Milk can hear me. Thanks, Drinking Milk. So I wanted to go over a couple of things today. Very, very importantly, I want to talk first and foremost kind of about this Uniswap news, which I think is absolutely gigantic. So I'm going to roll through this, and then I'm going to probably facilitate some questions, maybe some answers here, hopefully. But really kind of the news that stuck out to me today, and I was off work, so I didn't have dual screens, was, SBI cracking Tokyo's stone-faced regulators to launch Japan's first crypto fund. Now, if you're not aware, SBI is a monster in Japan. Yoshitaka Kitao has been quite the proponent for RippleNet and for XRP utilization for a long time now. It's been probably 2 or 3 years now. Also, kind of looking through the older documents, you can see that one of SBI's goals is to essentially have some sort of a merger between R3 and RippleNet. If you look through the documents, that obviously has not occurred yet, but we do know that SBI is going to be launching Japan's first cryptocurrency fund, which is fantastic. And we know, given the bullish situation from Yoshitaka Kitao, et cetera, I would very much so imagine that XRP would be involved in that. That's kind of just a given, in my opinion. Secondly, I wanted to talk about this because I stumbled across this today, and this is not, we're not going to get into the Uniswap stuff yet. We're going to get into it right after this. I found this today, and this is from the CFO, so the Chief Financial Officer of Coinbase. This is earlier August 2021, and this has major implications, watershed implications for all of us in this space. So he gets asked a question essentially: what if certain tokens are securities? Now, Alicia Haas. She is basically stating, sure. So I think it's important to understand that when you have a program, now you can't see the screen. I get it. I'm just reading it to you. This is a document that Coinbase has released as far as a Q&A is concerned. It's a call transcript. She's asking if digital assets are going to be considered securities, or if the Ripple case or, XRP potentially is deemed a security. What implications does that have for other tokens or coins on the network of Coinbase that they're utilizing for interface? Sure. So I think it's important to understand that when you have a program that has been deemed a security, not only would Coinbase have to license to offer a registered securities exchange, but the token itself would have to register with the SEC. So we wouldn't. Even if we had the licenses to be able to trade registered securities, that token issuer would also have to go through the effective being public like Coinbase and be a registered security. So, for example, with the action taken against XRP, yes, Coinbase delisted at the time and is awaiting further information on whether or not that asset is determined to be a security or not, and would then make further decisioning based on the outcome. And we would take similar stances if the SEC determined that there was a security listed on Coinbase. So this kind of leads into where we're going with this discussion right now. And if you are not aware, this news just came out today. This is a leak from the Wall Street Journal. Give me 1 second because my dog is trying to get inside the house and is scratching at the door. 1 second. Come on, almost done. 2 dogs. Come on. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Unless you wanted to hear scratching the whole time. So this was leaked by the Wall Street Journal, essentially. The United States, the Securities and Exchange Commission investigates crypto exchange developer Uniswap Labs. Now, there's not a whole lot here except for the implication that Uniswap is now under investigation by the SEC. But I have some very, very large concerns for people that are investing into digital assets just based on this news alone, which is kind of why I wanted to do this live stream. That's why I wanted to kind of make a video based upon this. Usually on Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, I'm pretty much a ghost in this space, but I think this is important. Uniswap Labs, the main developer of one of the world's largest current cryptocurrency exchanges, is under investigation by the SEC. Wall Street Journal reported on the probe Friday, September 3rd, citing information from unnamed sources close to the matter that SEC enforcement attorneys are examining how the exchange is marketed and utilized by investors. A spokesperson for Uniswap Labs said the company is committed to complying with the laws and regulations governing our industry and to providing information to regulators that will assist them in any inquiry. The story notes that the civil investigation into Uniswap is in its initial stages and may not yield any claims of wrongdoing. Okay, great. So I'm going to go back on to kind of the main screen here. I have very big concerns potentially for people that are buying assets that are specifically and only on Uniswap for a number of reasons. Number one, we always talk about removing your digital assets from exchanges. Essentially, if you want to hold utility, you don't want somebody else to hold your utility for you, correct? You want to custody that utility by yourself. And I can understand with, kind of the legacy mindset of, well, I have a bank account, so banks are holding my fiat, or my dollar-based currency, so why wouldn't I trust an exchange? Well, regulations are not clear yet, so it to me is a very, very dangerous aspect. I actually had some assets on Hotbit that I underwent, and this is crazy. Okay, so I'll tell you a quick story. When I signed up to Hotbit, this was like 2017. I bought Quant on Hotbit, and this was like, I can't remember when Quant was $3. I bought Quant at $3 on Hotbit. It was like one of the only exchanges that Quant was available on. And the withdrawal process at that point in time from Hotbit was this. And I had followed up over a course of time, but just recently I had tried to, and I didn't buy let me write home about how much Quant I have amount on Hotbit, but I bought Quant on Hotbit, and a couple $200 to $300 worth of Quant on Hotbit. You can imagine what that would be worth now at $3. So now they had an SMS message authenticator. This is just one example as far as why you don't want to hold assets on an exchange, let alone the hacking perspectives. So I had to go through this nonsensical process. And this is me, I don't try to ever say hey, I have this many followers. But if I have assets on an exchange, I am certainly going to, when I message these people, be like, hey, I have 58,000 people that follow the research that I try to do. I want you to help me out, and maybe I'll post something good about you guys, which I never did yet. But I just want to get my shit off of there. The real implications with something like Uniswap being under investigation from the SEC may not be necessarily the fact that you are not able to do whatever you want to on Uniswap as an exchange. I think that a lot of these assets go away. The big concern that I have is a liquidity standpoint, which a lot of these newer assets that launch really only launch these real small caps. They don't have major centralized exchange listings. They launch on Uniswap. They launch on PancakeSwap maybe. The concern that I have is if you hold these assets in a MetaMask account, or even if you're able to remove these assets into a cold storage wallet or whatever you may do, where are you going to sell? So if Uniswap gets shut down to an extent and you can't trade certain things or anything on Uniswap, and the largest liquidity pairing for your asset that you bought that you thought was going to quote unquote go to the moon, where are you going to sell? That is kind of the biggest concern that I have with this entire news, because we do see these newer assets launching on here. We all have to consider okay, what are our off ramps? So number one, my thought process would be, and this is if I were holding assets that are just only launched on Uniswap and maybe one or two other exchanges with low liquidity pairings, I would try to get some sort of an account on those exchanges that have those lower liquidity pairings regardless, just because what happens if the Uniswap pairing goes down? Number one, it's probably going to kill the asset, in my opinion, just because of the fact that a lot of these people aren't going to want to sign up to a centralized exchange in a third world country that is stating that they're safe. There's very large implications as far as where this goes. And I think this is just the beginning of what we potentially will see as far as how they're going to try to regulate us out of DeFi. We know Uniswap is one of the major on-ramps for DeFi initiatives, one of the major launching platforms for DeFi initiatives, one of the major liquidity provision platforms for DeFi initiatives. With as far as what's in the liquidity pool, these projects launch. Some smart people with very new projects that aren't complete BS may try to launch, add to the liquidity pool of that project. Let's say that a project launches and it only has like a $200,000 market cap. Some of these people take that coin and then take whatever the major liquidity pairing is, whether it be USDC or Ethereum or whatever, and they make their LP, their liquidity pool token, and they literally do it on Uniswap, and they get a portion of all of those trading fees. So this is inherently the beauty of DeFi, that you're able to do something like that, but also kind of the problem from a regulatory standpoint, where you have so many scam coins launching. So I understand with something like Uniswap trying to nail the hammer down to an extent. I'm just saying we all need to cover our asses right now as far as the assets that we have that have the largest liquidity pairings only on Uniswap, something like Uniswap, or something like PancakeSwap with Binance Smart Chain, et cetera, et cetera. I talk a lot about XRP on this channel. I talk a lot about Quant, HBAR, all these assets that we know are going to change the world. But there are smaller assets that you could potentially find that are going to be in that same position in 3, 4, 5 years that have to launch on something like Uniswap. Alliance Block is a great example of that for me. Alliance Block was, I think, the largest liquidity pairing was on Uniswap. It may still be on Uniswap. So I'm trying to figure out exactly what moves I would make. So the move that I would first make, number one, if I'm planning to sell something within this year, is I better make sure that I have other off ramps other than just Uniswap. Now, MetaMask, you can certainly sell right on MetaMask as well. You may not get as good as a rate, et cetera. You may not have access. 1inch is another one. Gate.io seems to get a lot of these ones, but I've heard a lot of people concerned about Gate.io. What I will say with any of these centralized exchanges that you deal with, make sure that you read very, very, very much so the fine print as far as what you can and cannot withdraw. Make sure you do not deposit assets into there that are more than you are willing to lose completely. And make sure that you try to withdraw small amounts, deposit small amounts, and vet yourself out before you do this, as well as much as it sucks with these centralized exchanges, you almost have to KYC yourself. KYC, if you're not familiar, is know your customer. So you basically have to upload an ID, a picture of yourself holding an ID, like saying whatever exchange it is. It's just kind of nonsense. So I'll touch more on this. I'm going to read through a little bit of the comments here, but I think that we often get distracted by the amount of things that we want to see, like almost self-propagating futures as far as what we want XRP's value to be immediately, and Quant's value to be immediately, and all these other coins value immediately. But for those of us that do invest into some of these smaller ones, these lower caps that still potentially have utility, maybe ones that are undervalued, this Uniswap news to me today is the largest news that happened in crypto, because now we're not only seeing Ripple get affected by it, we're seeing other aspects of it. And DeFi, in my opinion, is a gigantic bullseye for a regulatory agency. And it just scares me because, I know for a fact they're going to try to regulate us out of this market, and I've talked about it multiple times. We need to try to do what we can before that occurs, because we know how slow the government moves. We know how slow regulations are, but those are coming. It also scares me, like, about, I don't know, multiple use cases in this space just scare the shit out of me. As far as I always go back to the simplistic mindset of, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. That being said, some of these newer assets that certainly reward people with passive income. I actually was strong. I know a lot of people were talking about strong block. I'm a complete idiot for not buying it at 120, 130 bucks. I could have done so. I was told to do so, did not do so. But I still, like, even with an asset like that, to me, that, based on what I've seen and what people have told me, it sounds legitimate. But I will never know it's legitimate until 2, 3, 4 years down the road, when it's actually proven to be legitimate and it's regulatory compliant, because we don't have any sort of compliance right now. What I will say about that, I will certainly buy a strong node if there's a correction on the charts. I won't buy right now because it's at all-time high. It's past all-time high. The RSI, which is an overbought and oversold measure, like on the 3-day even or on the weekly even, is just astronomically high. I'm not saying it's not going to go up further. I'm just saying for me personally, I'm not going to trade in my personal risk to buy into an asset like that right now. If it goes back down to $350, $400, $450, something like that, I'll probably hop on it. I was talking about Flux nodes yesterday. Minus Wells on Twitter was telling me about Flux. He was stating there's some Coinbase potential initiatives that are coming down the pike with that as well. I always take things with a grain of salt. Like, I'm not going to sit there and believe that 100%. Why would I? But, you know, you can look through use cases, you can look through propositions, everything else, and try to determine that upon your own. But I think Strong, the largest liquidity pair of Strong, too, is on Uniswap. So this kind of applies here as well. So, yeah, the Uniswap news to me is big. And it's a little bit scary because I think that may be in the future, like, wouldn't it be interesting to see regulatory clarity for something like XRP and these some of these other coins? Because make no mistake about it, if XRP gets regulatory clarity, other assets that have similar models to the XRP distribution model will certainly kind of fall under that same thing. We just saw it from Coinbase. Coinbase essentially said they're going to basically be researching based on whatever the SEC decision is for what happens with Ripple, and make a determination based on what happens with these other assets. So shit, I hope we're all paying attention, because this has implications way bigger than XRP. We're talking about the entire cryptocurrency space. I mean, this is what it is what it is, which I think is why Sarah Nepern, obviously the judge, is kind of understanding what happens here. It's not just a Ripple case. It's a watershed moment for the entire ecosystem of digital assets, which we know it's a joke right now as far as market cap is concerned, but we're also understanding that utility prospects aren't really fully fruitional yet, because we're not able to see that fruition because we don't have regulatory clarity. Legacy organizations do not have regulatory clarity. Once that happens, and trust me, it will happen, if you're not, and this is not financial advice, in my opinion, if you're not in before that happens, I'm not saying that happens in a month or 2 months or 3 months. I'm saying when that happens, it will be too late for the assets that are going to be utilized to buy in. Maybe not too late, but it will not be the best opportunity to buy into those assets. I did a video yesterday that was not the best deep diving video whatsoever, but it talks very much so about Charles Schwab promoting digital assets and clarifying and validating digital assets as an asset class, which we already knew that. So, you know, this space is insane. I think let's very much so pay attention. I will be trying, because we know that that was a Wall Street Journal news break, basically, as far as the Uniswap investigation by the SEC. I will make it a point to try to find this information. I think that is the most important information that came out today, regardless of what happened in Japan with SBI and XRP, because to me, that's a given. We know that SBI is going to utilize XRP in as many mechanisms and as many utility use cases as possible. Shit, I know that the United States is going to use XRP, in my opinion. Again, that's complete speculation, but the Uniswap case deals with all of us, because we've all been trying to catch these ones that potentially could make us just a shit ton of money while we wait for regulatory clarity. I will say, obviously, it's much easier to move a $1 million or a $10 million asset to $100 million than it is to move a $5 billion asset to $10 billion or even $50 billion. It may not seem like that if you're holding certain assets like ADA or Cardano, which I have been, but not enough, again, to write home about. But you know, it's crazy, and this space is crazy. I just want us all to try to make sure that we're understanding what actually happens. So in summary here, if you hold assets that have sole liquidity pairs based on Uniswap, I very much so recommend, number one, trying to find assets that may not just have liquidity pairs on Uniswap. And if they have other liquidity pairings, I would recommend maybe dealing with the bullshit of spending some time and trying to get onto those centralized exchanges and just making sure you have an account. Because the worst case scenario for anybody in this space is for an asset to go to what they expect it to go to and not be able to sell at some point, or at least a portion of that. So I'm going to read through some of the questions here, but yeah, I hope this was somewhat valuable. I haven't done a live stream in a while. If you guys have questions, I'm certainly going to try to answer a little bit of them. I do have to Spend some time with the family this weekend as well. Yeah, Darren, dude, it's Uniswap news is indicative of what's to come for DeFi, which just fucking is complete bullshit in my opinion, because I've said this multiple times, and this is what pisses me off. And this is what people don't realize, is that they are going to eliminate people from this market. It doesn't matter if it comes through, it doesn't matter if it comes through market manipulation, which they've already done, or if it comes through regulation. That's going to happen. And that really pisses me off, because it's just like any other market in the history of markets. Unless you're an accredited investor at some point in time, you're not going to be able to participate in certain aspects of this market, which is crazy, right? Because it doesn't even sound like it makes sense when you're talking about DeFi, because DeFi is decentralized finance. Trust me, they will try to regulate it out. Whatever they can do, they're going to try to do. The best case scenario for me in this entire market, and I don't know if this comes to this or not, but I would love to see, because we're all going to always pay taxes. That's the way that the cookie crumbles. We're all going to. The only thing certain are death and taxes, right? I would love to see it like some sort of like a flat tax on digital assets to an extent. I don't know if they'll ever be able to facilitate something like that, but and I'm sure they won't, because it's just so unclear right now. And I would love to see like the first in, first out flat tax implemented, which we're just not going to see. Make no mistake about it, though, they are going to try to remove you from this market, and it's a bullshit mechanism that they're going to utilize, but it just really pisses me off. I don't even know what else to say about it. I'm just trying to cover my own ass as well as many people as I can in the meantime. So I don't think anything's necessarily going to happen to Uniswap. Now, NZT, Mark, we don't have the news yet, but we obviously have the Wall Street Journal leak talking about Uniswap being under investigation. What I would be concerned about, like I said again, are the pairings. I want to have an off ramp no matter what I'm holding in this space, because if I can't sell something, then why the hell did I buy it? I'm going to read through some of your guys' comments here. Oh, what's up, Yoda? Yoda's like I got to add Yoda as a mod. OG of the OG. Hey, King Solomon, why you thought they will try to get us out? I still can't understand. What's the point? Not of that. It's our money. Mohammed, I don't understand the question, just based on probably the translation breakdown. Why I think they're going to get us out of this market is because they've tried to get the every man and every woman. They don't. It's very hard for the legacy powers that be, in my opinion, to try to justify a technology that allows individuals to move up or down more than one asset class, or more than one, I should say, socioeconomic class. So if you're middle class, if you're born in the United States, I can use the United States as an example. If you're born in the United States, and anybody that's went through and did some of the research on this will realize, like, it's very difficult to move from the middle class to the top echelon of individuals. Now, middle class, yeah, you can certainly, through hard work and through dedication, move to the upper middle class, or through shitty decisions and bad luck, lower middle class. But it's very difficult to imagine, and that's just one example, one class, one socioeconomic class. So imagine a technology that allows people that are impoverished, literally poor people, that somebody throws 50 or $100 at something, and they move from the lowest levels of poverty up to the upper echelon of people in society. Do you think that the powers that be think that that is an okay thing to happen in the world? No, because they don't want that. That's why it's called the 1%. They don't want it to be the 10%. They want it to be the 1%. They want it to remain the 1% and always remain the 1%. Now we are all investing in a technology that is shitting on the rhetoric of the 1%, correct? Do you think that they like that they are being shit on? Certainly not. And they're going to try to regulate it out as best as they possibly can. I don't know how that will be possible across the board, but what they can do is potentially regulate out certain mechanisms from us being able to participate, just as, similar to accredited investing in the United States or whatever. And there's going to be loopholes. If you have enough money to hire somebody that knows how to jump through the loopholes, that will certainly be possible. I don't think we're there yet. I'm just telling you guys this right now. But that's where this goes. I mean, in my opinion, 1,000% that's where this goes. So yeah, I hope that answered your question. Sorry, Mohammed. We saw a lot of people got wealth and no one got them out. Correct, but that's because we have not had mass adoption yet, Mohammed, either. Do you think when mass adoption occurs, which it certainly will, that we will have the same exact thing occurring with legacy assets? So something like Bitcoin, Ethereum, any of these high market cap assets right now, they're not going to go up to infinity. They're going to have lower ceilings and higher floors. I talk about this a lot on Patreon with the more established assets. But what you will see is that it's going to be harder and harder to buy into the ones that are very much so new and nascent, because you will have to have certain things as an individual to be able to buy into some of these assets. For these newer ones, these smaller cap ones, like I said before, I could be completely wrong. I just think at some point it gets harder and harder to participate in DeFi, which is kind of ironic, right? Because DeFi is decentralized finance. But I think that in certain jurisdictions, they're going to try to regulate it out as much as possible. LCX is, yeah, I've heard about LCX multiple times, Heath, our Health Goat. And by the way, I looked briefly at LCX, and yes, I agree with you 100%. It's below $100 million market cap. I believe that that's the exchange-based token, right? They're partnered with like everybody. So, and by the way, there's just so many assets in this space. There's absolutely no way. I've never heard of Jam. What's Jam? See, I don't know. NZT Mark says the key is to dollar cost average and cash out while we go up in the bull market. Okay, so maybe he's just talking about the bull market and not be greedy and cash out near the end when they try to regulate people out. I don't think that they regulate people out in this bull market whatsoever. I do agree with you that dollar cost averaging is a decent move. I've been very hesitant to buy into some of these assets in this market, which I'm being proven wrong with things like Strong and stuff like that. But that's just because I'm solely basing, and like I said, if Strong corrects, I will probably buy in just maybe one node, if it corrects, and if the RSI isn't like at 90 on the 3-day. But what I will say is that like I've been trying to use rules because if you've been here since late last year, you probably already made money. Now we saw the downturn in like that April-May time frame. I was still buying certain assets. Like I think I got Lattice at like 55 or 60 cents or something in some other assets. I've been trying to follow these rules as far as like only buying, X amount down from all-time high, only buying if the digital asset is under these moving averages or these EMAs, only buying if the RSI is a certain value. It's very easy to get caught up in the hype. So like I'm still trying to use the rules because I don't want to get screwed, because I think what Mark is saying is that dollar cost averaging is valuable. My biggest move, period, in digital assets will be during the next bear market, whenever that happens to occur. And I don't care if Bitcoin during the next bear market is at 40 or 35 or 40 grand. I don't care if XRP during the next bear market is $3 to $5 or $4 or $6 or whatever during the next bear market. That will be the bottom. Whenever the bottom actually occurs during the next market cycle, we've seen it. We've seen it with ADA. We've seen it with multiple assets. If you would have bought Cardano at a cent and a half, that's a 150x to $3, right? So that is the move. That's the move to make. That's the only move to make for me. That is going to be the biggest move. Now, I'm still obviously buying into this market for certain undervalued assets, and I'm certainly looking to dollar cost average into something like Strong, which may have implications further down the line. If it's not a Ponzi, and I'm not saying it's a Ponzi whatsoever, I'm just saying if it's not, it will continue to grow very much so exponentially, because it's still under $100 million market cap. They obviously just partner with Phantom to launch nodes. They have integrations with Polygon. DVPN through Polygon as well. That's a monstrous project under $100 million if that's legit. And I'm not saying it's not or it is legit. I'm just saying for me personally, from a risk-based level, I should have fucking bought it $150 a coin. I didn't do it. So now am I going to buy it $660 a coin whenever the RSI on the 3 days at like 90, which just means it's insanely overbought? Not saying it's not going to go higher. Doesn't make sense to me. I'm going to wait for a correction. I will probably break my own rules for something like that, but that's because I have a little bit of fiat on the side to do something like that. I talked about Minus Wells, the coin that he posted yesterday, Fuse. I don't know. Every single person in this space has to make their own decisions. I look back on multiple coins that people have told me about, and I'm like, man, I wish I would have bought that. What's the one coin with all the mirror assets that fuck, I forget what it is. Somebody was telling me about it in the Patreon that I have in December-ish time frame. And the moral of the story here is you certainly can't catch them all, but passive income is gigantic. I think that more and more people are starting to realize that. I'm realizing that. We've seen it to an extent through staking. The only caveat that I would have with any of these, because we are certainly going to, let's say Strong is 100% legit, and I'm not saying it is or is not, but let's say that Strong goes to a $4 billion market cap, for example, okay? How many copycat projects do you think come out that have similar mechanisms, tokenomics, rewards, reward distributions as Strong does? Tons of them. How many of them are legit based on that? Maybe out of the 20 or 30 that come out, which there certainly will be more, maybe 2 or 3 are legit. So I'm just saying, be very careful. I try not to buy into hype as much as possible. If I miss a boat, like I missed the Avalanche boat, I missed the Energy Web boat, I missed the Strong boat, kind of, even though it's still under $100 million market cap. But I don't ever try to buy anything when it's overbought, to the extent that it is. So I don't know. By the way, though, fantastic haul for everybody that did buy into Strong at there's people fucked it. And I'm pretty sure I saw Strong earlier, but I know, I forget the dude's name on Twitter that messaged me, DM'd me, and he was like, you need to buy Strong. It's going to go higher. I think he talked about Polygon. This was at $120, but this was early June, I think, time frame, or mid to late June time frame. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. What an idiot. I'm so stupid. But whatever. Singularity DAO I talked about a while ago. Yeah, dude, I think Singularity DAO is big, and I think that Singularity Net, AGIX, is big. Obviously, they rebranded to AGIX after the move to Cardano, right? So VXV is that's the AI one, right, that has had implications through Alliance Block as well. Vector Space, right? Yeah, I think Vector Space is big. I don't know. It's just timing buys really bothers me at this point in time. Do I want to buy something that is Vector Space has went on a massive tear. Yeah, VXV has mooned. I know that. XDC bullish. I hold XDC, obviously. API 3 bullish. That's like Kevin Cage's baby. I don't hold API 3 right now, but I've talked about API 3 all the way back in November of last year, I think. I don't hold Casino Coin. Veracity I've certainly heard about, but looking through so many assets, I would have to relook at it again. Has it done well? I don't even know right now. Yeah, bro. That's the comment. John Judah, 2025 bull run will be crazy. I agree 100%, dude. Maybe 2026, but I believe that 2025 time frame is going to be, I want to say, the utility bull run, John, but then we're going to see some other crazy thing come out. So obviously if you guys didn't, so I know we see all the NFT stuff, and I know that I always talk shit on NFTs, but I like to try to support the XRP community as much as possible. Crypto Man, who has been in the XRP community since, it's got to be 2017 at this point in time. Brad Garlinghouse or David Schwartz, I can't remember which one, wore his socks. He does a lot of really great work, and he's a really stand-up individual. He is starting an NFT project called Wild Stag Treehouse. I posted about it on Twitter. If you want to check it out, do so. If not, I completely understand as well. I'm probably going to participate just literally to support that dude. And wherever it goes, it goes. I have no idea. But I wish him the best of luck because he's a really stand-up guy. He's probably one of 5 or 10 people in this space that I've maintained solid conversations with for 4 years at this point in time. So I would like to, shout him out and give him support if he wants to do something with the great work that he does and the work that he puts a shit ton of time into all his stuff too, which is interesting. You can tell. So I like that dude a lot. So yeah. So SHX, I've looked into Vector AI, Radium. I believe LTX is certainly undervalued, Michael, as well. So I'm not going to be selling that. The one crazy one that I bought, and I have to leave you guys with this, and I might, like, I'm probably going to realign portfolio positions at this point in time, just because I'm not seeing stuff run. Like X Sigma was like, all-time high for X Sigma was like $70, and it's at like 28 cents. I'm not telling you to buy X Sigma because this could be a horrible move. The volume's really low. They're not talking about utility for the coin whatsoever. 2 ex-Ripple employees, 1 Forbes 30 under 30. They partnered with Maxim, but not for using the token. They were like explicitly saying we're not going to use the token. They're not explicitly saying we're not going to use the token. They're just like not talking about the token at all. I bought 10,000 X Sigma at like 28 cents for like $3,000, because if it goes back, obviously I don't think it's going to go back to $80. But even if it goes to like $2 or $3, I mean, I'm fine with that. I'm not recommending X Sigma, by the way, because it might just be a dead project, or maybe they're just trying to be clear about regulatory uncertainty as far as not talking about the token is concerned. I have no idea. I'm still holding VET. I'm still holding all these coins. So, all right, I'm going to end this. I wanted to keep this short, but I did want to talk to you guys. So the big summary of this entire thing is, if you just joined this, Uniswap is essentially under investigation by the Securities and Exchange Commission in the United States. If you hold assets that have main liquidity pairings on Uniswap and don't have any other way to get assets off of of Uniswap or whatever, and the second biggest liquidity pairing is on a centralized exchange, whatever, and you're not a member of that exchange, very much so recommend that you look into doing things like that. We always recommend cold storing assets on this channel, et cetera, et cetera. But what happens if Uniswap gets shut down for trading for assets that you hold that only have access on and off Uniswap, at least for the major liquidity pairing is concerned? You may be screwed if something happens. So I would look into other off ramps for that asset that you may hold. So just wanted to give you guys a shout out, and thank you guys all for watching. This is the first live stream. Maybe I'll do more of these. First live stream with a new laptop. Maybe more of these in the future. But, you know, I'll keep the news up, and I really appreciate the support, everybody. So I love all you guys. Hope you guys have a good Labor Day weekend if you're celebrating. If not, I hope you guys have a good weekend anyways. All right? Later.